So what's like an ongoing inquiry for you in your writing? For me, for example, that desire to both be honest about what I'm feeling and compassionate toward the actors at play is like a very alive question. Um,
Yeah.
is there anything like that that's sort of like front and center for you with your own thought process and writing these days?
Yeah, actually, spent years and years and years and years processing the past and all of the situations that I'd lived through, experiences I had had, heartbreak, suffering, insanity, all this stuff, and spent a lot of time writing through those stories. And when I kind of felt like exorcised of those stories, not that they're ever really going to go away, they'll always be there in some way, but they're not my big thing anymore. And when
Mm,
I've made a lot of peace, I've made a lot of amends. There's not a lot of drama. I don't have relationships that feel like severed or painful at the moment. There's a lot more peace than there's ever been, and that's what scared me.
uh,
What do I have to write about now?
totally.
What do I have to write about now that, like, okay, I like where I live, we're healthy,
Yeah.
I'm not like, chaos, drama queen, and there's not like violent, crazy changes happening all the time. What do you do when the dust settles? And so that's been my biggest exploration the last couple of years, I'd say.
And what are you finding?
Well, it's sure pushing me out of my trajectory that I had been on for a long time. And so I'm really in the kind of, it's true exploration all the
Yeah.
time. Like, how can I go deeper into what seems, I used to be so terrified of the word boring. And
Yeah,
I
you
don't
said that.
really believe in the word boring anymore. Now it's like that you just have to peel back more layers. It's not all on top. It's not all this big drama plot on top. It's more going into your own consciousness
Mhm.
and deeper into your psyche and kind of behind the scenes of what we see, and the smaller moments become bigger. We're not having to concentrate on like the Mount Everest. We're writing about, like, the grass in our front yard,
Mhm.
and going deeper and deeper into that. And I found it to be really quite a beautiful process. Yeah.
So is it in your mind, is it about finding these like maybe smaller but still existent points of tension or conflict or pain, or do you believe inherently that like there is interest and value in being creative around the joy as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I definitely have been a pain addict most of my life
Yeah,
and just been accustomed to it. Like, and what else is interesting? Like,
right.
nothing else is interesting except like your suffering and my suffering. And that, as that's been healing in me, I've had to stretch into accepting joy and writing about joy and writing about finding peace. Not to say, oh my God, I never want to come across as like, I don't have big internal conflict, um, un- confusion, the unknown, interpersonal stuff, because I do, of course, but none of it is as high stakes as it used to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
But when I sit down to write, I really try to go in and find what feels biggest right now. Like, what's the thing that's really been kind of flaring up throughout the week, since I write a piece every Friday? And sometimes it is something painful or something that I'm still have a lot of unknowns about, or something unresolved, or sharing just my shortcomings. That's one kind of topic that I like to go along those lines, like how I'm overeating or overspending or being an asshole, or things like that.
Hmm.
um But I have started to give myself permission in my life and in my writing to experience and explore joy.
Yeah.
And it's still relatively new, but I'm planning to keep heading in that direction.
Yeah. Right on. Well, I'm rooting for you in that, because
That's hopeful. That's
it,
hopeful.
yeah, I mean, it's just it's relatable to sort of feel, and you hear people talk about it all the time with like, when the songwriter sobers up or whatever, like, are songs
Right.
interesting anymore? And I feel that with myself, like, so much of the fuel for what I write and what I think people relate to does have its roots in the difficulty. And
Yeah.
there's this notion that, like, well, if I one day, sort of like have resolved things in a way that maybe I'm not quite there yet, like, what am I going to have to write about?
Yes.
um and I, you know I can both relate to, like, to saying, like, I'm sure there will be plenty remaining to write about, and
Right.
also, you know there is value in creating from a place of joy or gratitude or love.
Yeah. And I think for the rest of our lives, it will be a mixed bag.
Of
Like
course.
maybe I'm aiming towards joy for once, but there's going to be everything else that comes along the way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least though the compass is pointed in a different direction,